Good day. Happy Friday. This is Andrea Mitchell Reports. I'm Chris Jansing in for Andrea, who is traveling back from her trip with UN Ambassador Linda Thomas-Greenfield. As my colleague Brian Williams put it, former Vice President Mike Pence proved he's perfectly willing to be the conductor of the Trump train. Despite being hunted by rioters on the Capitol January 6th, Pence speaking out for the first time publicly about the insurrection, saying only that he and the former president don't see eye to eye about the attack on the Capitol, but defending their administration's record. And right now on Capitol Hill, former Trump White House counsel Don McGahn also talking after a 2-year legal battle, finally testifying before Congress in a closed-door setting about the Russia investigation and Trump's possible obstruction of justice. All this as the Biden administration gets some positive economic news. Jobs numbers out today showing the economy added 559,000 jobs last month, doubling April's disappointing total. The unemployment rate ticking down to 5.8%. This morning, the president saying the economy is at its strongest point since before the pandemic. Joining me now is NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Leanne Caldwell, Washington Post White House Bureau Chief Ashley Parker, former RNC Chairman Michael Steele, and former U.S. Attorney Barbara McQuade. A lot to get to, but I first want to watch what the former vice president said last night about January 6th and Donald Trump. This was at a Republican event in New Hampshire.
President Trump and I have spoken many times since we left office. And I don't know if we'll ever see eye to eye on that day. But I will always be proud of what we accomplished for the American people over the last 4 years. And I will not allow Democrats or their allies in the media to use one tragic day to discredit the aspirations of millions of Americans.
Michael Steele, let's remember rioters chanting "Hang Mike Pence" as he was whisked away by Secret Service. And there he is in New Hampshire, holding, which will hold the state's first presidential primary, underplaying what happened on January 6th. What's going on?
Well, it's what you expect. He doesn't want to get sideways with Trump again, as he did on January 6th. That led to Trump supporters calling for his head. I thought Brian Williams put it the best last night when he said,
Doesn't he always?
The vice president's just a boy standing in front of the voters of New Hampshire hoping they like him, right? It's perfect. I mean, that's exactly what we're looking at here. None of this should surprise anyone, from the reporters who cover the story to the voters out there who are witnessing this stuff unfold in front of them. This is going exactly as we know it will always go when it comes to Donald Trump. There is not a man among them, and I mean that literally, not a man among them who will stand up against this guy. And the only person who has been the woman who they then sacked her for her position on the Hill. So the vice president, looking at 2024, trying to hedge his opportunity here just in case Trump doesn't get in, doesn't want to be sideways with those voters, doesn't want to be sideways with Trump. So you're going to hear more and more of this, so surprise no one.
So, Ashley, you wrote one of the definitive pieces about Donald Trump not acting the way that could have helped on January 6th. And to CNN, one of the folks who was there, Capitol Police officer, had this to say about what happened, about how he sees what the Republicans are saying and doing right now. Take a listen.
It was very scary because I thought I was going to lose my life right there. I could hear my fellow officers screaming, the agony in some of them. All I could think was, we can't let these people in. There's going to be a slaughter inside. It hurts me that the country that I love, that I came in, that I have sacrificed so much, don't care about us. They don't.
They don't, Ashley. I mean, you have on one hand Pence underplaying Trump's role that day, and of course other Republicans going much further, saying the rioters were basically tourists. Speaks to the ongoing power, as Michael talked about, of Trump with the Republican base.
It sure does. And no one knows that better, frankly, than Mike Pence. Mike Pence could give similar testimony about what happened on that day. Remember, the protesters are chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." We've reported that when they came up to the second floor to where the doors to the Senate chamber were, they were just within about, exactly, they were in about 60 seconds away from where Mike Pence was sheltering. And it's not just him. Mike Pence is someone who cares deeply about his family, has expressed that. He was there with his wife, some other family members. They were literally, you see them getting ushered out, having to shelter in place and hide in the Capitol. Mike Pence could have given a similar account to what you just played that police officer giving, but he has taken a different tact because he has calculated, as he did for the entirety of his vice presidency, that his only path to political viability and a potential run in 2024, of course, if President Trump doesn't run and ruin it all for those other Republicans, is to link himself to Trump in the obsequious, subservient way that he did for the prior 4 years. And that's what we saw, and that's what we'll see going forward.
And Leanne, Capitol Police are among those who have said, how do we prevent this from happening again if we don't get to the bottom of how it happened? President Biden did come out against a presidential commission to investigate January 6th, basically saying Congress should do its job. But Republicans, of course, voted against it. So where does that leave Democrats? Where does that leave Capitol Police officers?
Chris, you made a really good point. Capitol Police officers up here on Capitol Hill, the morale is horrible. And the fact that the Congress did not move forward with this January 6th commission last week was really devastating for a lot of these members. So what happens next? Well, Speaker Pelosi held a conference call with her members earlier this week, and our reporting shows that she gave them 4 options on how to move forward. The first is to force the Senate to vote on the January 6th commission again, perhaps make some changes to the legislation, pass it back over to the Senate, something that Majority Leader Schumer has said that he's open to doing, putting it back up on the floor. Again, we don't expect the vote count in the Senate Republicans, though, to change much. There's a couple more options. One is the creation of a select committee, but there's a lot of concern among Democrats about that because what sort of Republicans are going to be appointed to a select committee? Is it going to be the pro-Trump Republicans like Jim Jordan, or is there going to be some Republicans who voted to impeach the former president on that committee? So there's some concern about that being taken seriously. What seems to be the most likely option at this point, Chris, is using the existing infrastructure of the Senate Homeland or the House Homeland Security Committee to conduct these investigations. The reason is because the top Democrat on that committee, Benny Thompson, and the top Republican on that committee, John Katko, they're the ones who negotiated the legislation for the creation of the January 6th commission. John Katko voted in favor of that commission. So Democrats think they have a reliable negotiating partner in John Katko, but there has been no decisions that have been made. Speaker Pelosi told her members they'll continue to talk about it and they'll find a consensus. So we are waiting to see what direction it takes. And at this point, it's not clear which direction they will take.
Yeah.